Chad, are you able to hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so are we good to get started?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right, perfect. All right, hi everyone. We are going to now go into a little bit about Micrographia. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do with Micrographia and provide you with some tips and tricks on how you can start your journey on improving your small handwriting. All right, so just to give you a little bit of background, so my name is Saba Shahid. I am the Chief Smiling Officer and founder of the Art Cart, which is a creativity and movement program for people living with Parkinson's disease. We started back in 2014 and have since really distinguished ourselves into two main programs. The first is our Smile Through Art program, which specifically focuses on how to improve and make some of your symptoms, such as fine motor control, better through art and exercise. And the other program, which we'll be focusing on today, is our Micrographia specific program, which focuses on how to improve your small handwriting. So with both of these programs, our mission from day one, and I'm sure you've heard this common theme and everyone who's spoken today, is to help people with Parkinson's learn to live better with their symptoms instead of feeling burdened by them. So hopefully you'll get a little bit more of a glimpse of how you can do that with your Micrographia during this presentation. So to give you a little bit of a background, so back in 2014, we saw that there was a need. There was really nothing out there to help people with Parkinson's improve their Micrographia. And we also wanted to provide some type of resource to educate professionals as well on how they can start helping their patient population with small handwriting. So back in 2014, we started creating focus groups, mini research groups to see what works, what doesn't work. We collected lots of data. And then after 2 years of intensive research, we published our first workbook titled Let's Combat Micrographia. Then 2 years later, we continued working with this workbook. We continued doing our focus groups. We were then recognized by the U.S. National Institute of Health for our research and our work behind Micrographia. They then provided us with a grant to really revamp our book and to now put together 4 years of research that we've been doing. So just last year, we released our second edition of our Let's Combat Micrographia workbook and also released an online virtual platform where anyone, anywhere in the world can log on and take our course. And just this year, we released our second edition in Spanish. And the reason for that is because there's more and more people being diagnosed of the Hispanic population that have Parkinson's. So we thought it'd be great to provide an additional resource in a different language. And we also recently published our interactive journal, which provides continued practice. And we'll get a little bit more into this in the next few slides. So what exactly is Micrographia? I love asking people, and I know I won't be able to hear you today, but micro means small, right? And graphia means writing. So when you put the two together, you get Micrographia or small handwriting. So Micrographia is small, slanted, illegible handwriting. It's a prodromal symptom. So what that means is it's a symptom that occurs early on, but many people don't learn about until later on in their disease. So if you look at this picture here, this is a person with Parkinson's that we worked with. You can see her handwriting is small, it's illegible, it's slanted, and we're going to come back to this picture in a few minutes to see how her handwriting improved. So what are some challenges that come when you're writing and you have Micrographia? Frustration, right? There's a huge level of frustration that people, when you have Micrographia, you may sense. You're frustrated with the process, you're frustrated with the inability to control your hand. There's a lot of that. There's shakiness and tremors that can come with that. So now adding to the frustration, you have a hand that shakes that's being unstable with a pen or a pencil that you're holding. What do? Your brain wants to move faster than your hand allows. So this is another challenge that comes. And then, kind of with that, there's an overall lack of control. So all of these things are, going to be present in some manner, shape, or form when you first start working to improve your handwriting. And believe it or not, there are ways to overcome these challenges. And we're going to get into that next. So how do you overcome this? So if you feel frustrated, right, I love to tell people to take a step back, take a deep breath, and start again. right? There's nothing that we'll be able to accomplish if we're starting off with a negative and frustrated mindset, right? So if that ever happens, you want to take a step back, take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and start again. And you can really apply this to anything that you do, right? Even if you're doing a household chore and you feel that you can't, scrub the plate properly, take a step back, reevaluate, take a deep breath, and attack it again. So shakiness and tremors. So this actually reiterates kind of what Dr. Holder was just talking about. So we always recommend that you try to do your writing during your on periods, right? And the reason for that is this is your best time. And so if you really want to see an improvement in your handwriting, and if you really want to work on it, you want to try to work during your on periods. So when you want to move faster, right, you want to have patience with yourself. So it's really important when you're first starting to relearn the art of writing that you acknowledge, right, all the different challenges that we just looked at. And you want to be mindful that it's going to take you some time, right? So improving handwriting is just like exercising. If you go back to the gym after months of not being at the gym, right, you're going to feel yourself huffing and puffing, and it's going to hurt. Handwriting is very similar to that. When you first start, practicing to write again, it's going to be frustrating. You're going to want to stop. You're not going to want to continue. But it's those moments of acknowledging the different challenges that you have and being mindful of them and being accepting of them, and then allowing yourself to be patient and move forward, that's going to help you with the whole writing process. So if you feel like you have a lack of control, we're going to tell you ways how you can regain that control. Okay, so towards in the next few slides, I'm going to be talking about some different methods that we teach that helps you regain control in the entire process, and then overall gives you the ability to have more confidence in the writing process. So here's some tips that I like to share. So the first tip, first and foremost, write. This is very, very important, right? Any opportunity that you get, you want to take advantage of. The next thing that I like to talk about is posture. And I'm going to kind of put my, my screen back a little bit so you can see. So you can see me right now, right? I'm kind of hunched over my desk. I have a very nice, comfortable chair here, but I'm not sitting back against it. So if you all want to try this with me, feel free to. I want everyone to kind of sit back on their chair, right? I want you to roll your shoulders. I want you to feel the back of your chair against your back. Okay, this is good posture. This is good posture for when you're going to start writing. The other thing I want you to be mindful of, and I'm going to put my screen down so you can see my arm, is when we typically write, right, most of us, we're kind of just supporting our wrist, right? So when you have micrographia, a better way to start practicing your writing and being mindful of your posture is to support your entire arm, right? So you're going to not only support your wrist, but you're going to bring your entire arm onto that table. Now what that's going to do, it's going to provide you with more stability, right? And it's going to give you more confidence in the writing process. You're not going to be concerned about your arm dangling, all this extra weight. Your entire arm is going to be on the table, and you're going to be focused more, and you're going to have that better posture. So remember, anytime you start writing, it's very important that you be seated in a proper way and you give your entire arm that support. Okay, the next thing I like to talk about is writing instruments. And when we say writing instruments, I mean pens, pencils, there's different types of pencils, mechanical pencils. So the key here is that you want to pick something that you feel comfortable with, right? So it doesn't even have to be a pen or a pencil. It could be a permanent marker. It could be, whatever you feel comfortable with. That's what you want to choose when you're beginning your journey to writing. Okay, and why is that important? When you stick with the same pen or pencil, it's going to give you that added confidence, right? So anytime you sit down to write, you're going to know, your brain's going to know, okay, I've done this before, and I feel comfortable with using this pen or pencil. Now, the way you can add to that confidence and that feeling of comfort are writing aids, right? So you could see in this picture here that we're showing on the screen, this person that's holding this pen is actually holding on to a writing aid that's attached to that pen. Now, what that does is writing aids are great, right? Because they provide this particular writing aid, it's an egg-shaped, so it provides surface area. Now, surface area is great because, as you can see, pens and pencils naturally are super, super skinny and super, super tiny, right? So micrographia or no micrographia, it can be challenging to hold on to something this skinny. Now, when you have a writing aid, that allows you to, particularly this egg-shaped one, allows you to transcend some of that pressure that you may have in your hand, some of that rigidity that you might feeling onto that writing aid, giving you a bit more stability when you're trying to write. Right, so there's lots and lots of different types of writing aids that are out there, and we always recommend trying more than one. And the reason for that is a writing aid that might feel good for, let's say, for me, might not feel good for you. So we always recommend trying more than one. And then, let's see, next slide. Okay, so how can you write more? So one thing I love to kind of talk about is if you have micrographia, we always recommend that you stop depending on your care partner or spouse to write for you, right? I know many of you are probably guilty of this. If you have the opportunity to sign your mail, to sign checks, to sign important documents, take advantage of that, right? Remember what I said earlier, be patient with yourself. If it does require you, an extra minute to write your name, it's okay. The minute that you acknowledge that it's going to take you a little bit longer than your spouse to write your name for you, it's going to be that much easier, right? When you go to the doctors, or if you're going to a meeting, make sure you sign yourself in. These little tasks that you allow yourself, these moments of writing, they're all going to allow you to continue the act of writing, right? Because like I said earlier, handwriting's the same way as exercising. If you stop, it's going to go downhill. So the more opportunities you give yourself to continue writing, the easier and the better it's going to be. The other thing I love to talk about is you really want to make sure you write every day, right? It's very important to kind of create a routine. If you really, really, truly want to improve your handwriting, a routine is going to be key to you, right? So if we talk a little bit about what I had mentioned earlier with the challenges, to overcome one of the challenges of writing, to write during your on periods. So when you create that routine, you want to make sure that you add in that activity of writing during your on periods, okay? And then lastly, you want to make this fun, right? If you want to improve at it, if you want to improve at anything in life, it's that much easier when you're enjoying it. So this is great to do, make it fun by, it doesn't have to be you sitting down and just, going through the alphabet. It could be you journaling about a family member, or it could be you talking about the weather outside. And you don't have to pressure yourself to feel like you need to write, paragraphs and paragraphs. That's absolutely not true. We always start kind of from the basics. We like to relearn our letters. Then we turn those letters into words. Then we turn those words into sentences, and so on and so forth. And pretty soon now you're writing paragraphs. So it's an entire process. It's a building process that you're building to improve your handwriting. So I like to share these just to give you guys a little bit of a glimpse of what past people with Parkinson's have said, and I'll read these out loud. So after my handwriting became so cramped and small that I could no longer read it, I had no hope that I could ever recover it. After the first week of doing the Let's Combat Micrographia exercises, I had to sign my name. The letters remind me of a baby trying to walk for the first time. They were wobbly, but they were legible for the first time in years. This workshop has been an invaluable lifeline in my continued fight against my Parkinson's plus disease. So how amazing is that she compared her handwriting and relearning the act of writing to a baby trying to walk again. Those are very, very strong words, right? And it shows that with some practice, with some guidance, she was able to write her name again. And that, gave her that feeling of confidence and that ability to write again. And then secondly, here we have, when I took the class and did the assignments required, I was just flabbergasted with the results, and that I was getting my groove back in writing. My self-esteem along with my self-confidence was at an all-time high that my fancy handwriting was coming back. Sav is truly a wonderful professor of Let's Combat Micrographia. You can't go wrong, you can only go right. So here again, Tim was just amazed at how he thought he wouldn't be able to relearn how to write, but then he was able to do it. And not only did he improve his handwriting, but he also improved his confidence in himself, right? And that's a huge thing in any type of task that you do, whether it's writing, whether it's going to an exercise program, is that ability to have that confidence in yourself. So here's just an example of one of the programs that we offer. that could be available to all of you guys that are joining in today. So these are Let's Combat Micrographia workshops. These are done in person and via Zoom. Now with the pandemic, we've been doing these more and more virtually just to keep everyone safe. But pretty much, we provide everything that's needed for this, and we go through a series of different activities, both writing exercises, hand exercises. Our goal is to help you retrain the art of writing, retrain your brain the art of writing. And this requires, a lot of work. There's a huge accountability factor. There's homework assignments that we have you complete. And if you don't complete those homework assignments, you can't move on to the next step of your training. So it definitely is intensive, but it will provide you with, the tools, the techniques that you need to learn in order to improve your handwriting. And here's that picture again that we saw at the beginning. This was her handwriting week 1, this was her handwriting week 3, and this was her handwriting in week 6. So in as little as 6 weeks, right, with following the curriculum that we've provided and doing the different activities, the hand exercises, the writing exercises, you're really able to, retrain your brain to write again. And you can see it in this, just in this example, how her handwriting went from being so small, narrow, slanted to this beautiful, large, handwriting. And you can see as well here, there's 2 different writing aids that she's utilizing. This is the egg that I had talked about earlier, and then this is a different one. This one's particularly puts your fingers into a specific writing grip. So this is our virtual workshop series that we have. This is available to you anywhere. You could be living anywhere in the world. All you have to do is click on here and you can enroll yourself. This is also instructor-led. Everything is pre-recorded, but you still have that accountability factor. There's a whole team of people that we have whom are looking at all the assignments, the work that you're doing, providing the feedback, giving you the guidance that you need. And here are the 4 workbooks I talked about earlier. So this one on the left, the red one, this is our first edition that we published back in 2016. Our second edition one is the second book here, and this is what we published back in 2019. And this book, actually, we had a whole movement disorder board and a medical advisory board that reviewed this book, provided their feedback, and it's amazing as it's also recognized by the National Institute of Health as the only resource that's out there today for helping people with micrographia. And the way that this book is also written is very interactive. So when you open it up and you start reading it, it's going to sound like you have an instructor in front of you. There are, and I brought it with me here today so you guys can see, there are several different chapters in here, and there's several different activities that you do as you go through the entire book. So basically, even if you had just this book, this is a great way for you to start learning what you need to know, everything from posture to the writing aids that we talked about, to different concepts that we talk about, from thinking big to having the right fit, to thinking that you have macrographia instead of micrographia. So all these different things are talked about in the book. Then this next book, number 3 over here, is the second edition book, but it's been translated into Spanish. And then the 4th book on here, this is just additional practice that we've published in a journal format, because we were having a lot of people that were completing the Micrographia second edition book, and they were like, now what? What do we do? So this journal provides, over 70 pages of additional writing practice, everything from letters to relearning those words to having creative and positive journal prompts for you to work on a daily basis. So, this is another option that we have for people. These are our Micrographic Packet contents. So this is everything. You get the second edition book, the journal, 2 writing aids, everything packed together in a bag. And the reason for why we provide this is it helps you, again, talking about that, the routine. It allows you to build that routine and have all of your materials in one place. Okay, so now I want to quickly do an exercise. I want to make sure we have some time. So this is a concept that we developed called Think Big, Write Macro. So what I want everyone to do, if you have something in front of you, a pen or a pencil, great. If you don't, it's all right. We're going to use our imagination today. So I want you to imagine that there's this huge canvas or whiteboard in front of you, okay? And if you do have a pen or a pencil, I want you to hold that in your writing hand, okay? And what we're going to do now, we're gonna go through the entire alphabet, A through Z, but what we're going to do, instead of writing our letters small like we typically do on pieces of paper, we're going to write our letters nice and big, okay? So as you can see, with the letter A, I started on my left shoulder, I went all the way above my head, and then back down to my right shoulder, and then the center line. Okay, so we're gonna go through the entire alphabet. I'm gonna be saying the alphabet on my end nice and loud. I know all of you guys are muted, but I want you to do your best to say the alphabet on your end nice and loud. This is a great opportunity for you to practice those vocal cords and to work on that soft voice that you may or may not have, okay? So let's get started. We're gonna start with A, nice and big. B, C, nice and big, nice and loud. D, E, F, good job. G, H, nice and big. I, J, K, L, good job. M, N, O, P, keep projecting, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, last one, nice and big, nice and loud, Z. Good job. So if you went through that entire activity with me just now, I bet you your arm is feeling fatigued, not only your hand, but your entire arm. So this is a great gross motor exercise for you as well. But what this does is it starts getting your mind to start thinking big and so you can write macro to combat that micrographia. So this is a great activity that we like to do. We do this almost at every one of our workshops. And again, it's for the purposes of retraining our mind to start thinking big and to start writing larger. And so just to recap, so we have our 4 interactive workbooks for you. We have our 100% virtual live workshop series. We have our pre-recorded workshop series that you can take from anywhere at any time at your convenience. We also have a certification program for professionals. If there are any professionals that are on here today that are interested in teaching this Let's Combat Micrographia curriculum, please feel free to send us an email. And I think we have a few minutes left. If anyone has any questions, feel free to add them to the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer those.
Saba, there was one question about whether should they start with the 2nd edition or get the 1st edition?
Great question. So we always push the 2nd edition book now. And the reason for that is because the 1st edition book had about 20 pages and the 2nd edition now has over 60 pages. So the 2nd edition is a build on the 1st edition.
Very good.
Were there any other questions, Chad? I'm unable to see the chat box, I think because I'm sharing my screen.
No, I just wanted to say that one woman said that she's learned more today than she thinks she's ever learned from her movement disorder specialist. So,
oh wow,
that's exciting. And then, did you put up how they can get a hold of you? Do that slide one more time before we head up.
Let me show that slide to everyone again. All right, so here, so for any of the writing stuff I talked about today, you can access that through www.letscombatmicrographia.com. If you're interested in any of our art programs, I know I didn't talk about that much today, but you can find more information about that at www.smilethroughart.com. We have weekly live Zoom creativity and movement workshops that we do. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please send us an email, and our email address is on the screen.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, so well, thank you so much. Everyone, we have our last talk coming up with Tim Haig, so let's get on over to that next session.